to see everybody back in the Lord's house this morning. How many glad you're here this morning?
Amen.
Good to be back in His house, have the health and strength to be here this morning. God's been good to us. Just a blessing every day. Give us a beautiful day this morning. Appreciate Him loving us the way He does. Thank Him for the card. Sitting back there thinking a while ago, I was thinking last night, where's time go? 9, maybe almost 50, and sitting there, I was thinking back last night, back when I was my youngin's age, back there thinking things just like it happened yesterday, but time flies by. So I'm glad God's given us the health He has. He's been good to all of us this morning, and time don't wait on anybody. That's the reason everybody needs to get in this morning. People need to get saved. Young people, old people are all moving out of here quick. Seems like many young people anymore as there are older people going out. So we need to be ready this morning. Good to be in His house. You got your Bible, we turn to the book of Genesis, chapter number 49. We're going to read a few verses in chapter 49, then read down through chapter number 50 in the book of Genesis. This is going to be dealing with Joseph and his family for a little while this morning. Again, reading in Genesis chapter number 49. Again, reading out about verse number 29. And this is when Jacob dies here in chapter number 49, Joseph's father. Genesis 49 and verse 29. The Bible said, and he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephraim the Hittite, and in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Miram in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought the field of Ephraim the Hittite for possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed, and yielded up the ghost, and was gathered unto his people. And Joseph fell upon his father's face, and wept upon him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. And the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray ye, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die in my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan. There shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, and I pray thee bury my father, and I'll come again. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he had made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up also the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph and his brethren, and his father's house. Only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And there they mourned with a great, very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land of the Canaanites saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan, and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for possession of a burying place of Ephraim the Hittite before Mamre. And Joseph returned into Egypt, he and his brethren, and all that went up with them to bury his father, after he had buried his father. And when Joseph's brethren saw that their father was dead, they said, Joseph will peradventure hate us, and will certainly requite us all the evil which we did unto him. And they sent a messenger unto Joseph, saying, thy father did command before he died, saying, So shall you say unto Joseph, Forgive, I pray thee, now the trespasses of the brethren, and their sin. For they did unto thee evil, and now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of the servants of God thy father. And Joseph wept when they spake unto him. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we be thy servants. And Joseph said unto them, Fear not, for I am in the place of God. But as for you, you thought evil against me. But God meant it into good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now therefore fear ye not, I will nourish ye and your little ones. And he comforted them, and they spake kindly unto them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land, to the land which he swore to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry them on my bones from hence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Now we read there in Genesis chapter 49, verse 29 down through 33, and the whole chapter of chapter 50. You know what a story this family of Joseph is. You know, when you study about the life of Joseph, you know, he's a wonderful picture of Jesus Christ all through his life. Never see anything bad said about Joseph anywhere. And we get into this chapter 49 and 50, in the previous chapters, there's some things going on here with Joseph's family. You remember back how all this began. You remember several years before these chapters took place, how that Joseph's brethren was real jealous of him. You remember Jacob loved him more than all the other boys. Loved him so much he made him a coat of many colors. You remember those brothers were so jealous of Joseph one day. You know, they were out in the field. Joseph came along. They were so jealous. They had a plan and plotted to get rid of him. Remember, they throwed him in a pit. Then they got worried when they throwed him in the pit something might happen. So they saw these travelers coming through. And remember, they sold Joseph into slavery, sold him to these men. They took him down to Egypt as a 17-year-old boy. And you know, he pretty much became a slave down there in Egypt to begin with. But you remember the Bible kept saying that God was with Joseph all the time. The Lord was with him. Had God upon him. Remember, things began to happen down in Egypt, and there were some men had some dreams. And remember, Joseph interpreted those dreams, and Joseph became a man of good standing before Pharaoh. He could interpret dreams and different things. Remember, he told him one time that there was one dream that there was going to be a famine of 7 years. Going to be 7 years of plenty. Things were going to grow. Then there was going to be a famine of 7 years. Be no rain, no crops would be grown or anything such as that. And remember, Pharaoh put Joseph over all this, made him the governor of Egypt. And finally, the good times happened. They put up all these crops, put them in the storehouses. Then famine hit. And remember, Joseph is down here in Egypt, and his family is back up there in Canaan with nothing to eat. Remember, Jacob decides, he hears that there's corn down in Egypt, so he sends the boys down there, sends his other sons down to Egypt to buy corn. Sent all of them but the youngest, didn't send Benjamin. And these boys go down to Egypt, remember, to buy corn, but they don't realize who's in charge. They don't realize that God has put their brother over everything in Egypt, a man by the name of Joseph. They come to buy corn, and they don't realize this is Joseph they're buying from. Joseph recognizes them, but don't tell them who he is. Remember, he accuses them of being spies to begin with. He knows who they were, spies, but he was just playing with them after all that they've done to him. Remember, he puts them in jail for a day or two, then lets them back out. Then he gives each one of them a sack of corn to take back home. They brought money to pay Joseph. You remember Joseph takes their money, but he has his servants stick their money back down in each bag. When they get back home, they find this. Then time goes by again, famine gets a little bit worse, and Jacob sends the boys back down there again. But this time when they get back down in Egypt, things are a little bit different. They take Benjamin with them in different things. But to make a long story short, before all this is over, Joseph breaks down and tells them who he is. Could you imagine how much fear those boys felt knowing that Joseph was in so much power? And they know how they betrayed him several years before. You know how Joseph became where he was at? Because he was betrayed by his brother. Because they done him wrong. Because they sold him out to slavery. He became in the place he is in simply because his brothers betrayed him. And I'm going to deal with some things about that in just a minute. I'm going to deal on the subject this morning of the blessings of betrayal. You say, well, how can there be any blessings in it? Just stay with me a little while this morning. And you'll see Joseph was betrayed, but man, it brought a lot of blessings in the end just because his brothers betrayed him. Now you look what's going on here in Genesis chapter number 50. Now Jacob died there in chapter number 49, their father. That all this has happened. These boys had went back down to Egypt to get food. Then they go back home and get Jacob and bring him to Egypt. Now Joseph's taking care of every one of them now. Their families, all of them. But Jacob dies in chapter number 49. And Joseph's brethren begins to worry. They're saying, well, Daddy's dead now. What's Joseph going to do? We've betrayed him. We've done him wrong. We sold him out. And they're wondering, what is Joseph going to do to us since Daddy's dead now? But you look down in verse 17 in chapter number 50. The Bible said Joseph wept when they spake unto him. You know what Joseph began to do in verse 17? He said, Daddy may be dead, but you boys are still my family. He said, I still love you as much as ever did. He said, Daddy may be dead, he's not here, but I still love you. Look what he said in verse 19. The Bible said, and Joseph said unto them, fear not, for I am in the place of God. And what a place Joseph was in. He said, I'm in the place of God. You know, if a man ever gets to that place, he'll do some things right. He'll be real in his Christian life. He won't betray his brother. He won't play church. You know, he won't want to carry a chip around on his shoulder. He won't want to seek revenge. Hey, you don't find anywhere in any of these chapters that Joseph ever seeked revenge on his brothers. Joseph's looking at his brothers and saying, you're my family. I love you. You're my brothers. And look in verse number 21 down through the next 21, verse 22 and 23. Joseph is pretty much saying, I'm going to be good to you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of your family. I'm going to supply all your needs. Now Joseph, you think about Joseph rendered good for evil. Let me say, blessings a lot of times comes in strange packages and strange ways. So I want to talk to you a little while this morning, preach on the subject of blessing of betrayal. You ever stop and thought about that? Has anybody in this building ever been betrayed this morning? And I'd say if everybody in this building's honest, somebody's betrayed you at one time in your life. You ever had that knife stuck in your back? Hey, it don't feel too good. Hey, you think about that for a minute. These things will happen a lot of times when you at least expect it to happen. And you know when it happens, we begin to wonder, why is this evil thing happen? But according to what we're looking at here in Genesis 50, at times it can be a time of blessings when betrayal takes place. Hey, I can tell you from experience, betrayal don't feel good. Hey, you look at me and my wife this morning, we can tell you exactly the last 4 or 5 years how betrayal feels. Folks you thought was your friend stick the knife in your back. Hey, it don't feel good. It happened when you least expect it. Folks you thought would stick with you. Folks you thought was always going to be there, be your friends. You may say, well, you're confusing me this morning, saying a couple different things in one sentence. You may say, well, how can you be blessed when you've been stabbed in the back? How can you be blessed? You know, how can you rise when you're down? How can you be blessed maybe when you want to look at it like that blood's still dripping? Hey, you know, you're going to usually, you think about it like this, you're going to usually be betrayed by a friend. You say, why? Your enemies, you don't usually let your enemies get that close to you. You're going to be betrayed by somebody that knows you well. You're going to be betrayed most of the time by somebody you may do business with, somebody being brought into your home. Now, I'll get somewhere with this in just a few minutes. It's going to take me a little bit to get where we're going. But you say, where's the blessings at betrayal? Just hang around with me. It's going to take a few minutes, but I'll try to show you. But you know, I want to thank God for two kind of friends this morning before we get into this. Hey, I want to thank God for that friend that sticks closer than a brother this morning. Hey, man, there's a friend that'll stick with you through thick and thin. Hey, there's a friend that'll stick with you when hard times gets hard. He'll stick with you when times get good. Hey, he won't betray you as these boys did. You say, who is he? His name's Jesus. Hey, the Bible says he's a friend that'll stick closer than a brother. Man, when you're down, he'll lift you up this morning. When you don't know what direction to go, he'll choose the path you need to go this morning. Man, he's a friend that'll never disappoint you, and he's a friend that'll never betray you. Hey, that's the kind of friends we need. But there's not but one friend like that. Hey, the other kind of friends is the kind we have in the world this morning. And I'd say if most people will be honest this morning, you can probably count maybe on one hand how many friends you really have that you can trust. Hey, and I'd say if you be honest, you may not be able to raise but maybe one or two fingers of people that you could really put your trust in. Hey, a friend like that's somebody you can tell anything and you can trust. And I'm being honest, most of us probably cannot say we have over one or two like that in this world. Hey, I've got good friends all around this country, got friends overseas in different places. I'm glad to have friends like that. But man, there's no friend better than Jesus this morning. So I want to talk to you a little while this morning, this subject of blessings and betrayal. Let me give you 3 examples real quick in the Bible of betrayal this morning. I'm going to get back to Joseph and his brother in a little while, up toward the end of the message. But I'm going to give you 3 examples, man, of betrayal in the Bible. You remember a man by the name of David, King David. The Bible said he was a man after God's own heart. Do you remember one day he was out on his rooftop looking around, and all the other men was gone to battle, and looked up on a woman by the name of Bathsheba. Hey, some betrayal started when David began to look. You say, where was betrayal at there? This woman by the name of Bathsheba had a husband by the name of Uriah. Hey, he was out on the battlefield taking care of business where David should have been. David began to look on this woman, inquired about her, began to lust after her, and the next thing you know, he had her brought into his chambers. Hey, he began to betray one of his soldiers. One of his own men had been betraying. This man was out sticking up for David, sticking up for his country. And David began to betray him by taking his wife in adultery. And hey, not long after this lady became pregnant with a child of David. What did David go to do? He betrayed him a little bit more. Had him sent out on the battlefield on the front lines to be put to death. Hey, this is a man after God's own heart we was talking about. And he committed the sin of betrayal. Hey, you get over in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter number 11 and verse number 26. Paul talks about another type of betrayal. Paul begins to speak of false brethren over there. Call them as what they were, false brethren. They were some of these men began to betray Paul. Over in 2 Corinthians chapter number 11, the false brethren. Let me say, man, they got into the church back in Paul's day. And let me say, they're getting in the church in the day and time we live in, they'll betray you also. They're slick talkers. They'll tell folks what they want to hear. They're smooth talkers. But they will betray you in the end. because they're not going to tell you what the book says. They're only out for gain. They're only out for themselves. You know, even preachers, if you ain't careful, will stick the knife in your back when you least expect it. I mean, that's two types of betrayal. But let me tell you, the greatest act of betrayal you'll ever find in the Bible, and just about anybody can guess what this is. Remember when Jesus was praying all night in the Garden of Gethsemane? And the Bible said his sweat became as great drops of blood. And remember, one of the 12 began to sell him out. Remember, there was a man by the name of Judas. Hey, Judas was one of the 12 disciples. He carried the purse, carried the money. But you know, Judas was never, you know what it seemed like in that inner circle whenever anything was ever going on. All they ever cared about is where they spent the money. Never cared about anybody's soul. Anytime anything came up, anybody was going to give, he wanted to sell. Wanted to get money out of it. But can't you imagine that night in the Garden of Gethsemane? I mean, him slithering up just like a snake. And he kissed the door of heaven right on the cheek. Right. Man, you ever thought about that? How close he got to heaven, even kissed it? Hey, I don't know where Judas is at. That's between him and God. Bible even said he repented himself after all this was over. I don't know what he repented of. I know he hung himself. I don't know where he's at, but I know he sold our Savior out for 30 pieces of silver. Man, that's betrayal. The greatest betrayal you'll ever find anywhere in this Bible. So, man, Joseph's brother betrayed him. Let me give you about 6 things about being betrayed by a friend. Could you imagine Joseph when he was betrayed? That's his brothers and his friends also had betrayed him. Hey, they were surprised there. Hey, I don't believe Joseph expected them to sell him out, betray him. Hey, man, you can't hardly believe it. It's a big surprise when somebody betrays you. I mean, it's something that you can't explain, something that you didn't expect. You know, I don't know if there's anybody in here ever been betrayed by any friend, but you know, it'll shock you. That betrayal will come as surprise. You say, well, I'm not expecting that to happen. You better be real careful. Hey, we're living in a day and time, nothing shocks me anymore. Man, I've seen things out of people the last 5 or 6 years, man, it don't shock me when I hear somebody else has been betrayed. Hey, you say, well, that's not going to happen to me. You better be careful. You know that nightmare about to take you by surprise this week. I believe Joseph, man, had a nightmare when them boys sold him out. You know, the Bible tells us, the Lord said over Luke 20 and chapter number 21, we're living in perilous times. That's talking about dangerous times. That's talking about wicked times. That's talking about a time of sin on every hand. You know, we're in perilous times, but you know, there can be victory, though, for the child of God. You know, Luke chapter 21, the Bible said that there would be religious deception also. The Bible said in Luke 21:8, the Bible said, and he said, take heed that you be not deceived. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. Man, there are many deceivers out there today. It'll be a surprise if you ain't real careful. Better be real careful who you're listening to on TV and the radios. This crowd will surprise you and they'll stick a knife in your back if you ain't real careful. They're deceivers. So deception and betrayal can be a surprise. You know, Luke chapter number 21, in verse number 16, the Bible said there's 4 kinds of people that will betray you. When you look at these 4 people he's talking about, it's talking about the last days. And it's folks that you'd think would stick with you. Luke chapter 21 and verse number 16, the Bible said, and ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Would you think any of those would ever betray you? Your parents, your brethren, your kinfolks, and friends? Jesus said before his coming, these will betray you. You think about the first one he talked about, he said parents. Can you imagine a mother betraying her daughter or a father his son? Hey, they're betraying their children today before they're ever born through abortion. They're killing them, man. When they're conceived, they're living. Hey, man, you think about all these things that are going on. Mothers throwing their children down. Fathers throwing them down. Mama's running off for another man and daddy running off for another woman. They're betraying their children. And it's getting commonplace. It's getting something we're getting used to. Things like this seemed like years ago that it didn't want to speak about it. It was a shame. But anymore it's coming commonplace. It's coming something that seems like there's no shame. Parents betraying children. And the second one, the Bible said there, the brethren would betray. So-called saved people betraying you, sticking a knife in the back. Better be real careful when you're sitting on a church pew who you hook up with anymore. You may think, well, they're the best friend ever had, but before you know it, there's something going on, brethren. He said this would go on in the last days. Verse 16 also, he talked about the kinfolks who betray you. You know, if you ever live for Jesus, some of your kinfolks are going to think you crazy if you really get hooked up right. Hey, you really get saved, you're really walking, you're really doing what's right. A lot of them, the only time they ever want anything to do with you, when somebody gets sick, they want you to pray for somebody. Other times, they don't know who you are. Hey, kinfolks will betray each other in these last days. In verse 16, the Bible also said, friends. You know, it ain't no big surprise when them liberals betray you. Man, it ain't no big surprise when your enemies betray you. But when you wake up that morning and that best friend's betrayed you, hey, there's a surprise right there. There's something happens on the inside of you that nothing else can do like that does. I mean, you ought to ask yourself this morning, look back, has anybody ever betrayed you like that, surprised you, shocked you? Jesus said it's going to happen in the last days. Hey, you think about that bitter cup of betrayal. You know, you'll never drink of any cup like that. You know, the grapes are the cup of bitterness. You know, it's the greatest disappointment, anything that will ever happen to you in your life. You know, if you ever be betrayed, you better be careful and don't drink of that cup of bitterness. If you drink of that cup of bitterness, man, the roots of bitterness, man, will get in your soul. And when that bitterness gets in your soul, man, it's a dangerous thing. You'll begin to think about that all the time. You'll dwell on it. You'll lay down at night. You'll let that go through your mind. It'll eat you up. It'll tear you apart. It'll destroy you. There's dangers in betrayal. You know, you'll get bitter. You won't have a forgiving spirit about you. Man, if you drink that cup of betrayal, that root of bitterness, man, it'll begin to grow. You know, betrayal, I mean, if we get betrayed, we need to be men like Christ. You know, it's a blessed thing to pray for those who betrayed you. Pray for your enemies. That's what Christ done. You know, when Judas betrayed him, he still called him friend after he betrayed him. After Judas betrayed him, he still looked at him and called him friend. You know, I know a lot of preachers that get bitter a lot of times, get bitter over people leaving their church. Hey, they ought to not get bitter over that. They ought to pray for them. You'll have church members get bitter with other church members sometimes. One will go the other direction. We ought to be praying for them instead of getting bitter. Hey, we need to get better and pray. Don't get bitter, but pray. You know, when you get to the place you can drink that bitter cup and pray for those who betrayed you, there'll be some blessings and victory there. Look at Joseph, man. I mean, he was betrayed about as bad as anybody could be. You know, that black night that never seems to end, that night after you've been betrayed. You know, I don't know if you've ever been there, but I have, man. You'll lay down that night and you wonder if that night's ever going to end. Everything, every thought in the world will go through your mind. You'll wonder if morning's ever going to come. Man, I was thinking there last night when I was looking through this and studying about it a little bit. I heard a woman a few years back in a meeting sing a song, "The sun will rise in the morning." Man, if I don't do something for you when that dark night comes, the sun's going to come up again. Hey man, that ought to do something for us to know, man, it ain't going to always be black. It ain't going to always be dark. If you ain't real careful, we'll get like Job did. Job wondered, man, if the sun was ever going to come up again. Hey man, the sun's going to come up again in that black night. You know, in that black night, three things can happen if you ain't real careful. Hey, you'll get depressed if you ain't real careful when somebody's betrayed you. You'll get to sit there that first night, that dark hour of midnight, you'll get depressed if you ain't real careful. Hey, 1 John chapter 4, verse number 4, the Bible said, greater is He that is in you than he is in the world. You know, if you get depressed, man, you need to think about it. There's somebody in you that's greater. There's somebody in you that can get you through that depression. Let me say, depression's a real thing. A lot of folks will look at people and they get emotionally like that, get depressed. Or some of them has these chemical imbalances and stuff. I've seen that stuff firsthand. It's real. Don't kick somebody when stuff like that happens. You may be in that situation before you know it. I've heard preachers get up in the pulpit and run people down for taking medicine for stuff like that. Hey, they've never been there. They don't know what it's like. Right. Hey, when it comes down their road, man, they'll begin to understand. Man, you got to be careful if you get depressed. Man, a lot of preachers get up in the pulpit, they'll get their church depressed. They'll say, well, there ain't nobody coming. The board don't look good, the numbers and things like that. We might as well shut her down. Hey, man, they ought to get up and encourage their people. Man, there's too many people in the depressed state now the way there is. Hey, man, you better be careful, man, if you get depressed, because, man, that's just contagious. Hey, one person can come into church and get up and begin to testify being depressed. Man, it'll pass right on to the next one. Be real careful if betrayal happens. Don't get depressed when this thing does. You know, that black night of betrayal can also put doubt in you. You'll doubt the faithfulness of God if you ain't real careful. Hey, man, you'll begin to doubt that God's ever been good to you. Hey, you'll begin to look around and say, God, you've been good to everybody else. You've helped them. You're not helping me. Hey, man, that's the way this human body works, this mind. We'll begin to doubt God. We'll begin to doubt His Word. I mean, you ever been around somebody like that? You know, you just think about it for a minute. They'll begin to get you down. I mean, they'll begin to doubt how good God's been to them. A lot of folks will say, well, where's God at when these things happen? Hey, He's the same address He's always been at. He's the same place He's always been. He's still in control. Got to be careful. You'll begin to get depressed. You'll begin to doubt God, the Word of God. You'll begin to doubt the best friends you've ever had. You know, that black night of betrayal, if you ain't careful. Hey, you won't trust God or anybody if you ain't real careful. Hey, when that betrayal takes place, man, don't get depressed. Don't begin to doubt God. You know, that black night of betrayal can defeat you. You'll lose your joy. It'll be gone. You'll lose that joy that God gave you through your salvation. You'll lose that joy of fellowship in the church if you ain't real careful. A betrayal will come. I'm trying to help you to prepare for something this morning. I'm going to show you in a minute what happened to Joseph and his brethren's life. But you know, there's two big dangers after betrayal, though, happens. You know, most of the time, if you're like me or anybody else, we'll be tempted to take matters into our own hands and get even. You know, if somebody does something to us, betray us, first thing that usually pops into our mind, I'm going to get them. We'll get even sooner or later. The last thing I do, I'll get them before I die. And you know, that's a mistake. We need to pray for them. You know, the Bible said, God said, vengeance belongs to God. I'll repay, saith the Lord. You know, if somebody does you wrong, don't try to get even. Turn them over to Jesus. He'll even the score. You say, well, what's He going to do? He'll take care of the troublemaker. He'll take care of the backbiter. He'll take care of those doctor fees. Hey, He will take care of them somewhere down the road. He'll even the score. He'll take care of the betrayal. You know, one of the biggest dangers you face as a Christian is saying, I'll get even. Man, that's a big mistake. I've learned that firsthand. You're not going to do anything but make things worse when you say you're going to get even. All it's going to do is cause you more problems, your family problems, and somebody else's problems. The second thing or danger you'll do after betrayal, the first thing you'll say you're going to get even, and a lot of people will try to quit. Man, I've seen times the last few years I like to quit. There's something out in here won't let you. I've seen preachers, man, that wants to quit after somebody's done them wrong. I've seen moms that wants to quit after they've been betrayed by that daughter. Man, I've seen men that wants to quit, man. They want to quit God. Maybe after somebody's betrayed them in business or something like that. Hey, man, we need to stop and think. We can't quit if we're truly saved. Hey, there's something down on the inside that won't let you quit. You remember about a man by the name of Jeremiah over in Jeremiah chapter 20? Jeremiah got to a place and he said, I'm going to quit. I mean, Jeremiah pretty much said nobody's listening to him. I've been deceived. I've been betrayed. Everybody's turned their back on me. Jeremiah said, I'm going to sit down and shut my mouth. I'm not going to speak no more. I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to say nothing to nobody. I'm going to sit down on the stool and do nothing. But God struck a match, if you look at the book of Jeremiah, and he stuck it to his bones. Hey man, Jeremiah said that word was a fire burning in him. He said, I got to preach. I got to tell somebody about Jesus. I got to tell somebody how good he's been to me. I got to tell somebody I can't quit. That's the way me and you ought to be this morning. We ought to be able to tell somebody how good God's been to us. You know, I don't want to quit. I want to tell somebody about the old story of Calvary. Man, I want to tell somebody, be careful, the devil will betray you. Man, these men like Jeremiah, man, they preached for a long time and never had no success. Seemed like nobody would listen to them. Hey, the brother talked about Noah there this morning. Hey, you'll hear preachers in the day and time we live in say, well, I'm going to quit. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody's getting saved in my church. Hey, Noah preached to the whole world for 120 years and they went to hell. He kept preaching, kept on and on and on. Man, we need to think about these Old Testament prophets. They had the same problem we did. Hey, Noah preached to all of them and they still wouldn't listen. I mean, they opened their eyes after the rain began to fall. What's it going to take those people's eyes up here in America? Hey, the old devil, if you ain't real careful, will tell you it ain't worth it going to church. It ain't worth it. He'll tell you to quit. You know, after you've been betrayed, you know, it can make you a better Christian. You know, it can make a better Christian out of you. I told you about some things there to be aware of. It can happen. But it can make a better Christian. You learn how to lean on Jesus. You won't lean on the flesh and you won't lean on man. You know, after you're betrayed, you can learn to lean on it. And you know, man, we can learn to look up instead of looking around everywhere else. Better be careful when you're betrayed. You'll begin to look around everywhere. But we need to look at the author and the finisher. You know, the greatest blessings after you've been betrayed, man, is the comforter and the healer we've got in Jesus. Man, we need to learn. Man, we need to learn, man, you can always leave your enemies in God's hands. I mean, we just need to leave them in His hands and everything will be all right. Hey, I'll give you a lot of things there real quickly, but I want to show you the blessings of victory that follow betrayal. And this is where we get back to Joseph and his brother. You remember back there in Genesis chapter number 50? Down, I guess, about number 20 or so through our Jacob's died. And Joseph's brother said, Daddy's dead. What's Joseph going to do to us? We betrayed him. We sold him out. We thrown him in the pit. We even took his coat and give it to Daddy with blood on it. Told him he was dead. Well, what's Joseph going to do to us now that Daddy's died? Not to keep him from doing anything to us. I mean, they pretty much look at Joseph here in Genesis chapter number 50 and said, Joseph, you need to kick us out. Go ahead. If you need to kick our family, our children out, go ahead and do that. You remember over about Genesis chapter number 50 and verse number 20, Joseph began to cry. And he said in verse number 20, "But as for you, you thought it evil against me, but God meant it unto good to bring to pass as this day to save much people alive." Joseph said, "I'm where God wants me. God put me here." But Joseph is looking at him and said, "Through betrayal is the reason I'm here. Watching's done." But God had a plan through this. You know, Joseph looked at him and said, "It may have been through betrayal that put me here," but he said, "Look what a blessing has come out of this betrayal." He said, "God put me here to be able to take care of this business during the time of famine, the world wouldn't die. He put me here to be able to grow this food, store it up, then be able to distribute it." He said, "Look what a blessing has come out of this betrayal." He said, "Brothers, go tell your children, I'm going to feed them. I'm going to put clothes on them." He said, "I want you to know that I love you. Tell them they betrayed me, but I'm going to bless you." Hey, there can be blessings that come out of betrayal if we just stop and look around. Don't try to get even. Don't try to get revenge. Joseph looked back at his brother and said, "I love you." There's a blessing that's come out of all this. Look how Joseph handled this. He handled it in a God-like manner. He handled it as a Christian man. Hey, we don't know what Joseph went through as a 17-year-old boy when he sold off. He was a nobody down there. Hey, man, he was put out on the common slave market, sold as a common slave. He was a nobody, a Hebrew, when they took him down there. No-name boy. But you remember Potiphar, man, sent his man down there to buy on the little boy by the name of Joseph as a slave. Hey, God had a plan even through betrayal. Hey, when somebody betrays you, there may be something good going to come out of that. There may be something down the road you didn't expect. Joseph's brothers never had no idea how God was going to use that man with the name of Joseph. Hey, you ought to ask yourself this morning, you ever been betrayed? How did you handle it? Did you get mad? Did you get depressed? Did you try to get even? Or did you give those folks over to God and begin to pray for them? You know, you might be betrayed before this day's over. Nobody knows. And I said most of the time, those friends are going to be the one that betrays you, the ones you let get close to you, not your enemies. They're not close enough to betray you. They're already fighting. But you better be real careful. The Bible said in the last days, we told you some people, moms and dads, your friends, your family, the brethren, they will betray you. That's the signs that we're living in right now, the last days. How did you handle it when somebody did betray you? Did you ruin your testimony? Or did you run to God and ask Him to help you? I know this has been a little bit different type of message this morning. I want you to stand to your feet for just a minute, bow your heads.